My boss took my project for her niece, but didn't realize I was the new CEO. As you can see, Project Aurora was finally ready for its grand unveiling. Standing before the executive team, I had just concluded my presentation, my heart racing with a mixture of pride and anticipation. 2 years of relentless effort, countless sleepless nights fueled by nothing but determination and coffee, and now my dream was within reach. I could feel the weight of every late night and early morning in my bones, but the excitement coursing through my veins made it all worthwhile. It felt surreal, as if everything I had dedicated myself to was on the verge of becoming reality, transforming from lines of code into something that could genuinely change lives. My name is Marie. I'm 34 years old, and I am the AI project director behind the most ambitious medical innovation in medtech solutions history. With my background in AI medical research and my degrees from MIT and Stanford, I've poured everything I know into creating a system that could revolutionize early cancer detection and treatment optimization. Impressive, Marie, Evelyn Richmond, the CEO, remarked, offering a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Her perfectly manicured nails tapped rhythmically against the conference table. I had come to recognize that kind of smile. It was the same one she wore when she terminated the entire research division last year. It often meant trouble was lurking beneath the surface, like sharks beneath still waters. She continued, her voice smooth as silk but sharp as a scalpel. I think we need to make a few adjustments before the investor presentation. Just a few tweaks to maximize our impact. A chill ran down my spine, leaving goosebumps in its wake. Adjustments, I asked, keeping my voice measured and professional, though my pulse had quickened and my palms felt suddenly clammy. The project has already passed all clinical testing and validation protocols. The results speak for themselves. Oh, I'm not referring to the project itself. Evelyn waved a hand dismissively, her diamond bracelet catching the light as she moved, as though swatting away a minor inconvenience rather than years of my work. The technology is sound, of course. I glanced around the room, taking in the faces of our executive team. The other executives avoided my gaze, suddenly finding their tablets or the ceiling extraordinarily interesting. Their expressions a mixture of guilt and discomfort that told me everything I needed to know. The only person who seemed as taken aback as I was David, the COO. His eyes darted between Evelyn and me, confusion evident on his face as he straightened his tie nervously. I don't understand, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the knot forming in my stomach. I've led this project from day one. Every algorithm, every clinical trial, every partnership with medical institutions. Exactly. Evelyn leaned in slightly, her tone cool and calculated as ice. You played your role well during development. But for the investor presentation, we need someone with more executive presence. Someone who can speak their language. Her words hit me like a gut punch, knocking the air from my lungs and leaving me momentarily speechless. I opened my mouth to protest, but before I could respond, the conference room door swung open with perfect timing. Emily Richmond, Evelyn's niece, entered with a confident stride that didn't quite match her experience. She had joined the company just 6 months ago as a marketing coordinator. Though no one seemed clear on her actual responsibilities, Emily has an MBA from Stanford, Evelyn announced, pride evident in her voice as she gestured toward her niece. She has the perfect profile to present Project Aurora to our investors. She knows how to package complex ideas for the board. But she doesn't know the technical details or the medical applications, I argued, struggling to keep my frustration in check as my fingers gripped the edge of the table. This isn't just a sales pitch for a new app. It's a highly advanced AI medical system that could save thousands of lives. The investors need to understand the science behind it. That's why you'll still be on the team. Emily interjected smoothly, her tone laced with condescension as she flipped her perfectly styled hair over her shoulder. As technical support, you can feed me the data, and I'll translate it into investor speak. Technical support, 2 years of my life, my medical expertise and countless breakthroughs reduced to a side role. The room seemed to tilt as anger and disbelief washed over me in alternating waves. This is ridiculous, I muttered under my breath, feeling my cheeks flush with indignation. David stood abruptly, his chair rolling backward. Marie is the mind behind this entire project. She has the medical background and AI expertise to answer the tough questions. The investors need to understand the technology and its life-saving applications, not just see a polished slideshow with buzzwords. Watch your tone, David, Evelyn warned. her voice turning icy as her perfectly plucked eyebrows narrowed into a threatening line. Executive decisions aren't up for debate. We all have our roles to play. I scanned the room looking for any allies among the sea of expensive suits. Some faces reflected sympathy, others discomfort, but no one spoke up. Fear kept them silent, their careers hanging by the thin thread of Evelyn's approval. You should be grateful, Emily added, her tone patronizing as she examined her manicure. Most companies don't even keep the technical team after development is finished. They just take the product and run with it. And that's when something inside me shifted. A calm clarity washed over me, replacing the shock and anger with cool determination. Without hesitation, I opened my laptop and fired off an email with steady fingers. I had drafted this email months ago following Dr. Davis's instructions. Somehow, I had always known this moment might come, like watching storm clouds gather on the horizon. "You're right," I said, rising to my feet and smoothing down my simple but professional blazer. "I should be grateful." Evelyn's smile widened, a victorious glint in her eyes that reminded me of a predator savoring its prey. "I'm glad you understand. This is what's best for the company." "Grateful," I continued, keeping my voice steady and meeting her gaze directly. "To Dr. Davis for teaching me that patience is the best strategy when dealing with corporate sharks." Her smile faltered, cracking at the edges. A flicker of panic crossed her face like a momentary power outage. "What does the founder of this company have to do with anything?" she demanded, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Funny you should ask," I replied, gathering my things methodically, feeling strangely calm in the center of the brewing storm. "You should be receiving an email from HR any second now. I believe it's regarding a change in leadership structure." Right on cue, Evelyn's phone buzzed against the polished conference table. She picked it up with slightly trembling fingers, and I watched as her expression shifted from disbelief to shock, then to an angry shade of red that clashed with her designer blouse. This is impossible," she whispered, her perfectly composed facade crumbling before our eyes. "What is it, Aunt Evelyn?" Emily leaned in, trying to read over her shoulder, her confidence wavering for the first time. "Dr. Leonard Davis wasn't just the founder of MedTech Solutions," I explained, walking toward the door with measured steps, feeling the weight of the moment pressing on my shoulders, but somehow making me stand taller. "He was also my mentor since graduate school, and before he stepped down as chairman last month, he transferred his majority ownership of the company to me." "You're lying," Evelyn snapped, standing abruptly, her chair crashing against the wall behind her. "He would never give up control to someone like you." I pulled out my phone and hit play, my thumb steady, despite the tension crackling in the air. A video of Dr. Davis appeared on the large presentation screen, his calm, authoritative voice filling the room. "Evelyn, if you're watching this, it means you've finally shown your true colors. I always knew you'd try to take Project Aurora for yourself, which is why I made sure the company would be in capable hands. Marie isn't just a brilliant researcher. She understands that what we create here isn't just about profit margins, but about saving lives and upholding the ethical standards this company was founded on." Emily's tablet slipped from her hands, clattering onto the table like a physical manifestation of her falling aspirations. The other executives sat frozen, their wide eyes and slack jaws, unable to process what was unfolding before them. "The investor meeting is still happening," I said, turning to the door with newfound authority humming through my veins. "But first, I think we need to discuss some leadership changes in this company, particularly concerning those who have been selling our confidential medical technology to competitors." Chaos erupted behind me like a sudden summer storm, but I didn't look back. As I stepped through the glass doors, I could hear Evelyn yelling at Emily, her voice wild with rage and panic, while Emily sat in stunned silence, tears streaking her expertly applied makeup. "Impressive," David said, catching up to me in the hallway, his face alight with poorly concealed admiration. "How long have you been planning this counterattack?" "Dr. Davis started preparing a year ago," I admitted, feeling the weight of his foresight and trust, like a mantle on my shoulders. He realized Evelyn was hiring special consultants just to gain access to Project Aurora's algorithms. The pattern became too obvious to ignore. David frowned, loosening his tie slightly. "All those mysterious trips to Boston and meetings with pharmaceutical companies. We all thought she was courting investors for the company's benefit." I shook my head, the reality still bitter on my tongue. She wasn't looking for investors to help the company grow. David raised an eyebrow, the truth dawning in his eyes. Then what was she looking for? Buyers, I clarified, the word falling heavy between us. For a life-saving technology we hadn't even finished developing. She was selling pieces of our cancer detection system to the highest bidders, without any concern for patient safety or regulatory approval. As I entered my office, Amelia, my executive assistant, was already waiting with a thick folder in hand, her expression grave but determined. "The reports are coming in," she said, handing me the documents with a steady hand. Evelyn has been selling confidential Aurora project data to 3 different pharmaceutical companies. Everything is documented, just as Dr. Davis suspected. Emails, bank transfers, private investigator reports, offshore accounts, everything. The evidence is overwhelming. The weight of it all settled on me as I sat down behind my new desk, the responsibility pressing on my shoulders. This wasn't just about corporate espionage, it was about a technology that could save thousands of lives, being carved up and sold off in pieces. This was just the beginning of what would likely be a long and difficult transition. Before I could respond, the door burst, open with such force that it slammed against the wall. Evelyn stormed in, her usually immaculate hair now a wild mess, strands falling loose around her face like snakes. Her designer heels clicked aggressively against the floor, as her every step radiated fury. "You can't do this," she shouted, her voice shaking with rage, her perfectly manicured finger pointing accusingly at me. "I've run this company for 15 years. Who do you think you are?" I took a deep breath, centering myself before meeting her fiery gaze with calm determination. "And in those 15 years, you've been stealing intellectual property and selling it to the highest bidder, compromising not just our company, but potentially the lives of patients who would benefit from our complete system." Her face flushed deep red, like a thermometer rising to dangerous levels. "These accusations are ridiculous and unfounded. You're trying to stage a corporate coup." Without a word, I walked over to my laptop, typed a few keys with steady fingers, and projected several incriminating emails onto the wall. The evidence, illuminating the room both literally and figuratively. "Ridiculous?" I asked, my voice level despite the anger simmering beneath. "Then explain this email to Pharmatech, where you promised to hand over Project Aurora's cancer detection algorithms. Or this one, a $500,000 transfer from Medicorp to your personal account in the Cayman Islands." The colour drained from Evelyn's face like water through a sieve. She slumped into a chair, visibly shaken, her expensive blazer suddenly looking too large for her frame. "You don't understand," she whispered, almost pleading, her voice losing its sharp edge. "The company needed the money. The board was pressuring me for results. The company was financially stable," I corrected, my voice unwavering as I shuffled through more evidence. "You needed the money to fund your lifestyle. Emily's extravagant trips to Paris, her luxury condominium in Manhattan, your vacation home in the Hamptons. The company has been your personal piggy bank. Don't bring my niece into this," Evelyn snapped, eyes flashing with renewed anger. "She has nothing to do with my decisions." I gave a dry smile, feeling no joy in this moment despite the vindication. "Oh, you mean like how you dragged her into my project? How you gave her a fake position and credentials, putting her career at risk to serve your own agenda?" Before she could respond, the door opened again, this time more hesitantly. Emily stepped in, her eyes red and swollen from crying, her confident posture completely deflated like a balloon days after a party. She looked completely defeated. Nothing like the self-assured woman who had strutted into the conference room earlier. "Aunt Evelyn," she murmured, her voice cracking with emotion. "HR is reviewing my resume. They're saying my Stanford degree is fake." I finished the sentence for her, feeling a twinge of sympathy despite everything. "Just like your work experience and references. Did you know your credentials wouldn't hold up to scrutiny?" Emily's face went pale as fresh snow. She looked like she was about to collapse, her designer outfit suddenly seeming like a costume rather than clothing. I only did what Aunt Evelyn told me," she stammered, almost pleading for forgiveness, tears welling in her eyes again. "She said everyone in business does it, that it's how you get ahead." "Of course you did." I sighed, my voice soft but laced with disappointment. "You trusted family, as most people would. Did you know your aunt has been running the same scheme for years? Hiring family and friends, creating fake positions, funneling company funds, selling proprietary medical technology, all to keep up appearances and maintain her lifestyle?" "Shut up!" Evelyn suddenly screamed. bolting to her feet with such force that her chair toppled backward, her eyes wild with desperation. I won't let some researcher destroy everything I've built. Do you know how hard I've worked to get this company where it is today? Built? I let out a quiet, bitter laugh that held no humor. You haven't built anything, Evelyn. You've been feeding off the work of others for years, taking credit for innovations you barely understand. The real question is, what do you think the Medical Ethics Board and the FDA will say when they find out you've been selling experimental cancer detection algorithms without proper testing or approval? The board trusts me, she insisted, but her voice lacked its usual confidence, as if she were trying to convince herself rather than me. They always have. The same way Dr. Davis trusted you. I raised an eyebrow and pulled out another document from my desk, letting the silence hang heavy in the air. Do you know why he chose me to inherit his shares instead of you, his longtime CEO? Evelyn didn't answer. She just stared at the document, her face twisting as the weight of the truth sank in like a stone in water. Because he knew you'd eventually try to sell the company piece by piece, I continued, my voice steady with resolve. The secret meetings, the emails to competitors, the offshore accounts. He documented everything over the past 3 years. He was just waiting for the right moment, gathering evidence. Evelyn's expression flickered with panic like a cornered animal. Desperation crept into her voice as she switched tactics. We can come to an agreement, she said quickly, leaning forward. You keep the project, I'll handle the administrative side. I'm good at that. I have connections. Just let me fix this. I shook my head, cutting her off before her manipulations could continue. This is over, Evelyn. The board has already been called for an emergency meeting in an hour, and they have a lot to review. This isn't just about corporate politics anymore. You were selling medical technology that could affect patient outcomes. Emily's face crumpled as fresh tears welled in her eyes, streaking her carefully applied makeup. What's going to happen to me? She asked, her voice small and trembling with fear. Will I go to jail? That depends, I replied, watching her closely, seeing the genuine fear and regret in her eyes. My tone was firm but not cruel. Are you willing to testify about what you know? The truth about how your aunt has been operating. Evelyn's eyes widened in shock as she turned to Emily, her voice sharp and filled with warning. Don't you dare say another word. Family protects family. But something in Emily shifted, a realization dawning in her eyes. For the first time, I saw the weight of her choices settling on her shoulders. Her posture straightened slightly as she seemed to finally realize who her aunt truly was and what she had been dragged into. I'm sorry, Aunt Evelyn, Emily whispered, her voice unsteady but resolute, finding her backbone perhaps for the first time. But I'm not going to prison for you. I want to make things right. The board meeting that followed was swift and decisive. With the overwhelming evidence, including Emily's detailed testimony, the decision was unanimous. Evelyn was removed as CEO and legal action was set into motion. The board members, many of whom had been intimidated by Evelyn for years, seemed almost relieved as they voted. A security guard escorted her from the building, her designer heels no longer clicking with confidence but dragging slightly. She muttered to herself, disbelief in her voice. I can't believe it's all ending like this. 20 years in this company. All I did was survive in a cutthroat industry. I watched her departure from the lobby, a faint, almost sad smile tugging at the corners of my lips. They could have been 20 years of real leadership and innovation, I said calmly to David, who stood beside me, instead of 20 years of deception and self-serving decisions that may have delayed life-saving technology. After Evelyn was gone, Emily remained behind, standing uncertainly in the hallway. The arrogance she once carried had melted away completely. She looked smaller, more vulnerable, more authentic. A stark contrast to the woman who used to walk these halls with borrowed confidence. I really am sorry, she said softly, almost hesitant, her eyes meeting mine directly perhaps for the first time. Not just about the project, about everything, about who I was trying to be. Seated at Dr. Davis's former desk, now mine, I studied her for a moment, seeing past the designer clothes to the person beneath. Why did you do it, Emily? I asked, genuinely curious. You're young, intelligent. You could have built your own career the right way, earned your own accomplishments. She wiped away a tear with trembling fingers, taking a deep breath that seemed to deflate her further. Aunt Evelyn always said the business world was ruthless, especially for women, that we had to take what we wanted because no one would ever give it to us. That credentials were just pieces of paper and what mattered was confidence. After a while, I started believing her, started thinking that's how the world really worked. She exhaled shakily, her shoulders slumping with the weight of her realization. Now I see she was just projecting her own fears, her own flaws. She was teaching me to cut corners because that's all she knew how to do. She hesitated, her voice softening with genuine regret. Dr. Davis tried to warn me once at the company holiday party. He said real success comes from creating value, not stealing it. I thought he was just being old-fashioned, but now I understand what he meant. I opened a desk drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope I had prepared earlier, feeling the weight of the decision I had made. Speaking of creating value, I said, handing it to her, watching her reaction carefully. Emily took it with visibly trembling hands, her eyes widening as she scanned the contents. Her mouth fell open in shock. "A job offer," she whispered, barely believing the words before her. "In the marketing department? But why would you do this after everything?" "It's an entry-level position in our marketing department," I explained, my voice firm but not unkind. "No special treatment, no shortcuts, no inflated title. You'll have to earn your place like everyone else. Prove yourself through real work and real results." She shook her head, still struggling to process this unexpected turn, her brow furrowed in confusion. "I don't understand. After everything I did, after how I treated you, why would you give me another chance?" "Dr. Davis believed in second chances," I said, meeting her gaze steadily. "He believed people could change when given the right environment and the right example. But it's up to you to make the most of it. This isn't charity, it's an opportunity you'll have to earn every day." Suddenly, David rushed into my office, his face tense with urgency, his tie slightly askew. "The investors are here for the presentation. They moved the meeting up after hearing about the leadership change. They want to see how the company is handling the transition." I straightened my suit, forcing myself to stay composed despite the surge of adrenaline pumping through my veins. Then I turned to Emily, who was still processing everything that had happened, the job offer clutched in her hand like a lifeline. "Want to see how a real medical AI project is presented?" I asked, offering her not just a view of the presentation but a glimpse of the professional she could become. Not with fancy slides and empty buzzwords, but with substance. "Ethics and purpose?" Emily hesitated for a moment before nodding, her eyes reflecting a mix of nervousness and genuine curiosity. She was starting to grasp that this wasn't just about technology. It was about presenting a vision that could define the company's future and potentially save thousands of lives. The presentation went smoothly, exceeding even my own expectations. It wasn't just about showcasing what Project Aurora could do technically. It was about illustrating the vision behind it and its real-world impact on cancer patients. I shared actual case studies from our trials, explaining how our system had detected early-stage cancers that traditional methods had missed. We weren't just presenting an algorithm. We were showing how technology could give patients precious time and hope. The investors saw more than financial opportunity in my presentation. They saw an innovation that could transform healthcare outcomes and save lives. More importantly, they recognized the company's renewed commitment to transparency, ethics, and accountability under my leadership. Our culture and values mattered just as much as our technology, and they respected that vision. Later that evening, as I locked up my office and gathered my things, feeling the weight of the day in my tired muscles, my phone buzzed. Dr. Davis's name flashed on the screen, sending a wave of emotion through me. A small smile formed on my face, even as exhaustion threatened to overtake me. "I saw the news," he said, satisfaction evident in his voice, though I could hear concern there too. "Evelyn finally got what she deserved. Are you holding up okay? It couldn't have been an easy day." A wave of relief washed over me at hearing his voice, but I quickly shifted my focus to gratitude. "Thank you for trusting me with this," I said, emotion making my voice slightly unsteady. "But I have to ask, because it's been bothering me. Why didn't you stop her earlier? You knew what she was doing for years." He paused briefly before replying, his voice thoughtful. "Because some lessons have to be learned the hard way, by everyone involved. Evelyn needed to face the consequences of her actions, to see that shortcuts and deception eventually collapse. And you needed to prove your strength, not just to me, but to yourself. I had to see you stand up for what's right, even when it was difficult." His words struck deeper than I expected, resonating with something fundamental within me. This wasn't just about the project or corporate politics. It was about everything leading up to this moment: the betrayal, the power struggle, the trust placed in me, and the resilience I had to find within myself to push forward despite the obstacles. "And Emily?" I asked, concern creeping into my voice as I thought about the young woman who had been caught in her aunt's web of deception. "The job offer," he said with a soft chuckle that carried decades of wisdom. "Exactly what I would have done. You're showing her the right way to build something meaningful, through hard work, not shortcuts. She needs that example more than punishment." His words served as a quiet reminder that while this journey had been difficult and painful at times, it was also a turning point for everyone involved, a chance to rebuild something better from the ashes of deception. A year has passed since that pivotal moment, and Project Aurora has surpassed every expectation we had. It has become a medical breakthrough, transforming cancer detection and treatment optimization across America. Hospitals are reporting earlier diagnoses, better treatment outcomes, and lives saved. What once seemed like an impossible dream when I first sketched the algorithms in my apartment is now helping doctors make better decisions every day. And the company is thriving under ethical leadership. Emily has grown tremendously too. She started at the bottom of the marketing department, just as I promised, with no special treatment or shortcuts. I watched her struggle initially, confronting real work perhaps for the first time in her life. Though the road wasn't easy, with many late nights and revisions to her work, she proved herself through genuine determination and effort, building a future she could be proud of. She struggled at first with the fundamentals, but soon found her rhythm and authentic voice. Over time, she has earned every promotion through dedication, creativity, and personal growth that's visible to everyone around her. The job offer I gave her wasn't just a second chance. It was an opportunity to discover her own true capabilities. Watching her transform into a hardworking, ethical professional who now helps communicate our life-saving technology to the world has been one of the most rewarding aspects of this challenging journey. As for Evelyn, her fate was sealed by her own actions. Under house arrest while awaiting trial, she has become an outcast in the business world that once celebrated her. Despite her attempts to leverage old connections and regain her footing, she has been completely shut out. Her legacy is one of deception that endangered patient care, and no amount of manipulation can rewrite that history now. The company has moved beyond the toxic tactics of the past. It now thrives on true leadership, where transparency and integrity form the foundation of everything we do. Our focus has returned to innovation that serves a purpose beyond profit margins. Every morning as I walk into the office, I make a point to glance at Dr. Davis's portrait in the lobby, the morning light often catching on the glass frame. It's a reminder of the man who made all this possible and the lessons he instilled in me through both his words and his quiet example. His wisdom still echoes in my mind daily. Success isn't about taking shortcuts. It's about building paths others can follow towards something meaningful. Just last week, while reviewing new project proposals from our expanded research team, I came across an innovative submission from a young doctor-turned-engineer. Her idea for improving Aurora's algorithms for pediatric patients was brilliant, full of compassionate insight and technical potential. When I asked her why she chose our company over so many others offering higher salaries, her response made me pause and reflect, because here, talent and ethics matter more than connections. You're actually trying to save lives, not just make money. At that moment, sitting in my office with the late afternoon sun streaming through the windows, I realized what we had truly built together. This was the culture Dr. Davis had envisioned all along, the one I had worked tirelessly to shape through difficult decisions and unwavering principles. Our success wasn't measured just in the groundbreaking projects we developed or the lives our technology saved. It was equally evident in the values we upheld every day. Integrity, hard work, and transparency had become the true measures of success throughout our organization. Looking back at the challenges, the moments of doubt and uncertainty that tested my resolve, I know now that we created something that will endure beyond any single project or product. Dr. Davis was right all along. It wasn't just about the technology or the algorithms I'd developed. It was about laying a foundation that would allow others to thrive and continue our mission long after we're gone. As I sit back in my chair and reflect on everything we've accomplished in just 1 year, I feel an overwhelming sense of pride mixed with humility. Because at the end of the day, the true legacy we leave behind isn't just in the projects we complete, or the accolades we receive. It's in the lives we impact, the culture we build, and the opportunities we create for others to achieve something truly meaningful that makes the world better than we found it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.